Okay, so I am just starting my day. It is time for my wake and bake, and I have decided I have three grinders and four strains of weed that I'm about to smoke. But while doing non-specific rideshare program, I've been talking to people, and people have wanted me to tell a story. So I'm going to tell this story so that it goes down, and it's just out there. Now, real quick, I want to say this story is old as fuck, and it's not like I'm clout chasing per se, because I mean, this shit happened well over a decade ago, and it's just funny to me. Like, it's just what it is. All right, so before I even roll up, let me say this. The story I'm about to say is true. There are at least 100 witnesses to it in Dayton, Ohio. That said, so through the course of my life, I've met many people. I've been a fuck up for a while, and I've been fortunate though. I've met people that other people look up to and aspire to. Hell, even my own heroes. One of these times, I met Dave Chapelle. Let me tell you the story about it. So, after the first season of Chappelle's show, he did a show in Dayton, Ohio, at Wiley's Comedy Club, right? And obviously Dave was already big. Half Baked at the time was like literally my favorite movie of all time, and me and my three roommates were going to this show. Now, it's me, a white chick, and a gay white dude, and they buddy. Our other roommate didn't go. But what happens is Dave does this show, and now that I'm thinking back on it later, I realized what he was actually doing was like at Wiley's, he performed the comedy set that he did for Killing Them Softly. So while he's doing the set, it's hilarious. Everybody's loving this shit, right? He stops in the, like, not even the middle of his set. It's like towards the end of it. And he tells people, he's like, I'm not going to continue until somebody in the audience tells a sex story. Because he's about to tell a sex story. But he wants somebody in the audience to do it first. Now, anybody who knows me knows I'm relatively animated. I'm kind of calm right now because, I mean, I'm not actively smoking, but I'm high. Anyway, so he proceeds to, ask the audience for participation. And anybody who knows me knows I'm relatively animated. It's not hard to picture me getting somebody's attention. But the thing is, at the time, I wasn't trying to tell a sex story. I want to put this out here. Like, my roommate at the time, this chick would tell stories that, on God, would make my foreskin crawl. Like, this chick just, ugh. Like, before I had ever even heard about it in porn, this bitch was talking about ass to mouth and ignorant shit. Like, and like I said, long, long ago. So, she chickens out, of course, so which leaves me holding the bag. So now I gotta tell a sex story out the blue, and I only got one sex story. Like, that's worth telling people. And I'm gonna just be honest with y'all right now before I get into this story. Let me remind y'all, I used to drink. I don't drink right now. I'm a heavy duty pothead, but I ain't drank in 13 years, 3 months, and 2 days. I want that as my defense before I tell this story. So, I proceed to tell this story about when I was a kid in South Carolina. There was this keg party me and my people went to. Well, we hosted it. But we had two 15-gallon kegs and 2 gallons of moonshine. We was trying to get fucked up. We wasn't trying to be like wasted or no shit. We was trying to be in the goddamn ER. So we're hosting this party. It's cool and shit. I mean, and I still can't figure out how the hell I met a Scottish chick in the middle of like bumfuck, cousin fuck, South Carolina. But whatever. Met some Scottish chick. And she's out here during the course of this party. And I get her out to the balcony. she's giving me some head. I'm like, too short. I was getting some head. Getting some head. All cool, right? So, at this point in time, I'm actually seated kind of like I am. So she's doing this, and this Scottish chick, she has thick, luxurious hair, like curly as shit. And it's voluptuous, like voluminous. That's the word. Because now that I act like I didn't have long hair at the time, but her shit, like where the edges of my hair, just the ends out here, it just sat out that like that far from her head. Like her shit was just that curly, right? So I don't know how many people have had these instances, but you ever had a beer burp or seen somebody tap a bottle and see how the foam goes shooting out the top? Well, she's sucking me up and that happened. So I had this burp, and I think it's nothing of it. I'm just like, cool. And then the foam comes up. I'm like, But at the same time, I'm about to finish. So I'm not stopping this chick. I'm not getting up. I'm not spitting this shit. I'm like, and I kind of just drool it into her hair. Again, I haven't drank in 13 years. I am not this guy. But, so she finishes, and now she's got bubbly vomit in her hair. The entire audience is like, ah! And I told people before I started, this story is not ha-ha funny. It's gross. You'll laugh because it's gross. So needless to say, everybody eats this shit up. The whole audience is like, oh shit, ah. And I'm sitting here looking at this shit like, cool. Right on. What proceeds to happen is Dave then tells a head story, and it's actually the same head story that he tells in Killing Him Softly, about some chick giving him head with a football helmet and he's smacking it around. And the unfortunate thing is, it doesn't get the response that it should have, because I had already grossed everybody out. Like, kind of a shock value thing. So I had diminished his impact. That kind of sucked for me, because like when I saw the audience, this is how I know, like, first of all, while I was a drunk person, I clearly had delusions of grandeur, because what had essentially happened was, on accident, I had more or less upstaged Dave Chapelle in his own hometown, or at least home turf. And in my drunk ass mind, I was like, I am about to have a job with Dave Chapelle. Like, I genuinely, at the end of this shit, like, by the time I had sat down and shit, and he had told his story, I just knew it. I was like, I'm about to be a writer for Chappelle's show. I knew this shit. I'm like, in my mind at that time, I knew I'd be writing on the second season of the show. What happened is, the motherfucker flicked me off later in the evening after his show and left. And I was heartbroken because I had this big ass blunt. I was sitting here like, I feel like I should have finished the joint that I was rolling just so y'all could see, because it pales in comparison to what I had hoping to smoke with Dave Chapelle. And it's actually not the only time I've seen him. That's the fucked up thing. Like, there's more to this story, but I'll get into that later. But all that matters is, for somebody who is absolutely insignificant in his life, like, it made a moment in mine that would never be forgotten. It was awesome and funny and weird. I don't know. I probably should have wrote like a script for this shit. That way it would have been funnier to y'all. But fuck it. Anyway, what's more important is 3 words can change the world: honor, integrity, and accountability. If properly applied, no injustice can exist.